All right, and welcome back. Today we're going to go ahead and make a potato salad. It's once again my dad's recipe for potato salad. There's a few different ingredients than you might put in there, and that's the reason why we like it so much. So what we've got here is we've got 5 pounds potatoes, and then we've got we're going to do 6 eggs. Then we're going to do 1 medium chopped onion. 3 tablespoons of mustard. This is our spicy mustard, our spicy honey mustard. I like using this and that. And then some sweet relish. Then we got some Miracle Whip. Dorothy Lynch dressing. Now, this might be a little bit different just based on the region as to where you live. Now, Dorothy Lynch, I am not 100% sure, but I think it is mostly a Midwest dressing that's available in the Midwest. Very good. It's a French style dressing with there's peppercorns in there, I believe, and everything else. It's very, very good. You can use it for a lot of different things. As I say, salad dressing, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce, dipping sauce, basting, glazing, and a ketchup substitute. It's very good stuff. But anyways, we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of Dorothy Lynch dressing. Then we'll do a half teaspoon of black pepper and a half teaspoon of garlic salt. So what we're going to get started with first, move all those off to the side, is what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just get these in a pot of water. The way that I do these is I go ahead, put the potatoes in the pot. Let's go ahead and just do that now. We're going to go ahead and get the potatoes in the pot. Once again, want to make sure that we have a big enough pot so we're not spilling out over the top because we don't want to make a mess. And make sure everything gets cooked even, because what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and fill this up to just past the potatoes, and we're going to want to use cold water. Alright, so we'll go ahead and fill these up. Yeah, I'll be right back as soon as it's full. Alright, we're almost up to the top. Once the last one, that one there is covered, of course I can always push it down probably, but we want to make sure we have plenty of water in there. Okay, so we're covered. Potatoes up about an inch or so. So let's go ahead and get them moved on over to our stove. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put it on the stove top with the lid on it. We're going to go ahead and turn it to high. Okay, what we want to see is we want to see a rapid boil. Once we get that rapid boil, then what we're going to want to do is go ahead and turn it down to medium heat, and then continue that for 20 minutes, and then we'll check the potatoes to see how tender they are. We don't want mashed potatoes. We don't want them to be completely mush. Alright, but what we want is we want a nice sort of firm potato, but not solid. So what I'll do is I'll take a paring knife and I'll push it through. If it pushes through real nice and easy, that means they're done. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with our eggs. I'll grab our pot while we're over there. So, what we're going to do with our eggs. Now, what I usually do is I look at my eggs, of course, at the store to see if there's any cracks. But every once in a while you'll get one of these. It's like a stress fracture, I guess. It might even be a little bit of a crack, but nothing's coming out of it as far as that goes. It's not soft. But I don't like using these just because when they start boiling, that will expand and that will come out, and you'll get egg on the outside. So what I like to do is look through the eggs just real quick. Now, the recipe calls for 6 hard-boiled eggs, but if anybody knows or has boiled eggs before, the problem with that is you may call for 6. If you only do 6, say 5 turn out right, 1 messes up, something around that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do all of them because I like hard-boiled eggs just by themselves, and they keep in the fridge. I usually keep them in there for at least a couple days. Then my wife says that they start to stink, so I make sure to eat them all real quick. So I'm going to leave that one out. I'm going to grab another carton, and so that way I can do a full dozen, and then I'll use that for something like making scrambled eggs in the morning, something like that. So I'll just take a look at this egg. Looks fine. So what I've got, once again, is I've got the bottom layer. Now, you don't want to double stack, at least I don't. I don't double stack when it comes to hard boiling my eggs. I'm going to keep my carton because what I'm going to do is when I cool my eggs, I'm going to put them back in here and then put them back in the fridge for at least an hour once I get them all done, so that way they have a chance to cool down completely, because that's, in my experience, been one of the key factors, is getting that complete cool on them. So once again, we're going to fill this up just past the eggs, all right, with cold water. All right, and a lot of people, they have notions, and like I said, I make sure and get completely past all the eggs. You see how those there standing up? I'm gonna put a little bit more water in them. Okay, and some people say that, you know, they can tell whether or not an egg is good if they spin it or if it floats. That's been my experience, is if you get a floating egg, that's usually one of the biggest issues, or an issue that you might have, is if the egg floats, then I just get rid of it, you know, or I'll just not hard boil it, I'll just go ahead and cook it up right then and there, so that way I don't waste it. So what we're going to do is going to go ahead and, once again, we're going to turn this on high and get, let me turn on the light, I apologize guys, turn on the light, turn that on high, and then we're going to get that going right next to our potatoes that we also have on high. And when we get a rapid boil out of this, once again, we started with cold eggs, cold water. Once we get a rapid boil out of this, we'll go ahead and remove from heat and let it set for 10 minutes. If you remember on the potatoes, what we'll do is we'll look for a rapid boil, but then we're going to turn it down to medium, leave them on the heat, and go ahead and continue cooking for 20 minutes. But with the eggs, we're going to pull them off, let them set for 10 minutes, and then they're going to go right into an ice bath. So I think we'll be back with the ice bath. Okay, now we've got a rapid boil on both, so what we're going to do is take that one off completely, turn that off. We're going to leave that covered for about 9 or 10 minutes, something like that. This one over here, what we're going to do is just turn it down to medium heat, leave it covered. We're going to set a timer for 20 minutes. There we go, 20 minutes. And then when 20 minutes goes, then we'll come in here, remove the lid, and take a paring knife, poke it through, a big one, and see if it goes all the way through. As you can see over here, the boiling has stopped, but that water is still nice and warm. So what that's going to do is that's going to completely fully cook the eggs. Then we'll put them in the ice bath in order to stop the cooking process. We'll come back with the ice bath. Alright guys, we've still got our potatoes going on medium heat. And it's been about 10 minutes, just over. I was trying to get the camera ready and stuff. So what we're going to do now, bring this over to the sink. I'll get this set up on the sink so you can hopefully see it. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start with cold water. And this is the bowl that I had the potatoes in. I went ahead and just cleaned it up real quick. We're going to do that, and then I'll get another bowl, get some ice out of the ice machine here. Alright, that was wonderful. Good job, Nick. Alright, so what we're going to do is set that down in here. And then we're going to put the ice in that one. Let that cool down for just a little bit. Then what we're going to do, we've got it on cold heat. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit. And we're going to drain off the hot water. Okay. Then we're going to stick them right into the cold water. Now, I'm sure you can see this egg here. In the boiling process, it went ahead and split. And this is what I was talking about before as far as choosing an egg. See how it split there? You're always going to have, most of the time, something similar to this. Alright, so we'll get cold water, and then we'll drain. And I usually do this twice before I put it into the ice bath. Nice cold water coming out of the faucet. I'm going to go ahead and set this one off to the side just because I don't like those. So we got it full with cold water, and then we're going to go into the ice bath with it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is let them sit in here for probably, usually about 10 minutes or so. Then I'll take them out, feel them, see how cold they are. If they're chilled down nice, then what I'll do is go ahead and put them, dry them off, and then put them in my egg carton and go ahead and throw them in the fridge and let them continue cooling until I need them. Then what I'll do is pull them out, peel them up, and go ahead and get them chopped and put into the potato salad. All right, set this off to the side. And the potatoes, when we check on them, is when we'll go ahead and transfer those into the egg carton. All right, looks like our 20 minutes is up, so let's go ahead and test our potatoes to see. Yeah, I heard you. Let's go ahead and test our potatoes to see if they're cooked through. Okay. Now I'm not sure if you can see how well you can see this, but there are some potatoes where the skin is starting to split. I don't know if you can see on this back one right back here. All right, potatoes start to split. That'll happen, and that's kind of what we're looking for, because we want them to take a paring knife and we'll just stick it through. Okay, still just a little bit tough. Okay, this thing should just slide right on through with hardly any pressure. I mean, it'll go through, but we want it to be able to just kind of, slide right on through. So I'm going to give these probably another 5 minutes or so. Then we'll go ahead and pull them off the stove, and once again we'll do the same thing that we did to our eggs. We'll go ahead and I won't do an ice bath on this. What I'll do is dump out the hot water and then fill it with cold water, let it sit for about 5 minutes, dump out the water, then go ahead and go back in with the cold water, because I do want these to get cooled down to in my opinion, refrigerator temperature, being around 38 degrees, somewhere in that ballpark. So what we'll do is we'll set the timer for another 5 minutes, and I'll come back when we go ahead and pull them off the stove. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get these eggs out of this bowl, dried off, and then put into our reusable egg carton so we can put them in the fridge. Alright, so we'll grab a couple paper towels here, and we're just going to pat them dry, because I just don't want, the moisture in the fridge and the moisture to be on the eggs, stuff like that. Just a quick pat. You don't have to do this. This is just something that I prefer to do. But what we're going to do is put these back in there, and then I'm going to mark on the top hard boiled, so that way I don't miscount when I go to the store and say we need eggs. I see an egg carton in there, I say okay, we don't need eggs, because I usually just lift it to see how heavy it is. Okay, there's got to be at least 5, 6 in there, and I won't get eggs. But I usually buy about 6 dozen at a time, just because we do go through a lot of eggs for breakfasts and cooking and everything else like that. So once again, we did lose 1 egg in the boiling process, but all the rest of the other 11, I did a dozen, and the other 11 did end up turning out just fine. So we'll go ahead and get these packaged up, and I'll put hard boiled. Actually, I'm just going to do hard, and we'll get that put into the fridge. Okay, we're about done with our other 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and set up to check our potatoes. I heard you. Alright. Oh yeah, the splitting is getting quite a bit more. I don't know if you noticed that last one, the last time where the split was just a little bit. Now it's much more, almost split all the way around. These are definitely probably going to be done. Yeah, hardly any effort to push through them. They're not mashed by any means, but just little effort. So we'll turn off the stove. I'll position you guys over here, and we'll go ahead and get the potatoes stopped cooking, and we'll get them started cooling down with the first process. Like I said, what I'll do, dump out most of the water, go ahead and fill with cold water. Alright, now what this is going to do is this is going to stop the cooking process. Otherwise, if you let it go in that same water, you would end up with basically mashed potatoes. So I want to make, I think in pasta they call it al dente, whatever, to where it's cooked, but it's still, I don't want to say rubbery. It's not really rubbery. It's just, it's not tough, but it's still got a good chew to it. And that's what we want with the potato salad. We don't want basically mashed potato salad. We want actual, chunks that we can chew in our potato salad. So that was the first kind of rinse, but what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and fill it completely up with cold water, let it set for 5 minutes, and I usually do that, I think, 2 times. I'll dump it, refill it, dump it, refill it. So I guess that would be 3 times total, something around there. If you count that little first one, that's 4 times. So it's one of those things, what I'm doing is I'm just trying to get this down to temperature. Then what I'll do is I'll stick this whole pot, not with the water, but with the lid on in my refrigerator in order to cool down, because I want this to be fridge temp as well as the eggs, as well as all my refrigerator ingredients, so that way when I go to mix everything together, everything's at about the same temperature. I'm not warming anything up. Then what I'll go ahead and do is put it back. Once it's all prepared, it'll go all into the fridge, because I prefer potato salad that is cold. I don't like warm potato salad. It's just me, I guess. But let's go ahead and let this go, and we'll come back when we put it in the fridge. Alright guys, we've done some straining and some cooling down of the potatoes, stop the cooking. There was one at the bottom that split up pretty good. So what I'm going to do now, and you can see that one there, and a lot of people ask me why. I'll show you this real quick before put them in the what I do is cook them first, and then if you notice, if you just take your paring knife and you can just peel real nice and simple, the skin comes off of the potato. It comes off a lot better after they've chilled in the fridge and everything like that. They're still not warm, but they're still a little bit soft. But this is how I peel off the potatoes, and then I'll give them a rinse, and then that's when I go ahead and then get them chopped up, and we'll get them thrown in to the rest of the recipe. All right, we'll be back. All right, guys. So now, as you can see, it's been a little while later. I had to go out and replace a power steering pump on my Jeep. We've got off-road toys that we like to play with, and as you can see, I'm dirty, and I tried washing 5 or 6 times, but what I'm going to do to finish this up is go ahead and put on some gloves, because I'm sure my family doesn't want any of the greasy parts or bits in the food. So let's go ahead and get some gloves on, so that way we can go ahead and finish these up. So, always wanted to do this here. Alright, so what we got is our potatoes here. What we're going to do is we're going to take our potatoes and our eggs on over to our sink area. Sorry. And we're going to go ahead and get these peeled up. Potatoes are pretty simple and easy, just because, like I said, we boiled them with the skins on, and I've cooled them down. So what we're going to do is grab a paring knife. Actually, let me wash my gloves hands real quick like, just make sure that those are clean. Okay, so we're good to go there. Alright, now, so what we're going to do is we're just going to peel. See how easy that just peels right off there? And we're going to try and not take too much of the potato off with it, but we just want to peel off the skin, because we want the potato, of course, for the potato salad. And then what I do is, see the nasty part there? That's just going to get cut off. Well, if I get it all. Alright, so that should be most of it. And we're just going to peel it off. And then we're going to give it a quick rinse. that's it. And then we're going to go ahead and put this on some paper towels just to let it dry just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get these finished peeled up, and I'll bring you back when I'm all peeled and we're ready to do the eggs. All right, we got the potatoes all peeled, so now it's on to the eggs. All right, so this is just the pot that I used for the potatoes, and like I said, we need 6 of these. I just pulled these out of the fridge. Sorry, just pulled these out of the fridge. This is what I did up earlier with the 11 eggs. Tried to do 12, but that didn't quite work. So what you do is, and most people have peeled eggs before, you know, and remember these were nowhere near the sell-by date, so it's one of those things. I don't know how they're going to turn out. Sometimes they turn out good, sometimes they don't. All right, so these aren't turning out too bad. And I always feel that, you know, it's one of those things, and you do not want these to go down the garbage disposal. You want these to go into the trash. So they're not peeling too bad. Of course, that's only one. So we're up to one good one so far. So we'll put that over there with the potatoes. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get number 2. Just as easy, we'll find out. If sometimes you get a lucky one, sometimes you don't. But I believe that cooling them down to fridge temp really helps with the peeling process. So we'll just get a start here. And like I said, there's a little membrane on the inside in between the shell and the egg. I don't know if you can see it here, with that little membrane there. Okay, that's what holds the shell on. And that's why some people puncture, but I find that if you boil at the way that I did, you know, with the cold water, cold eggs, bring them up to boiling, a rapid boil, not just a little boil, then remove them from the heat and let them set for 10 minutes and then ice bath. That usually works pretty good. Sometimes, not so much. You know, if I'm in a rush or not paying attention or something, sometimes it won't work as well. So, 2 done. Well, let's try 3. Once we get to that membrane, I don't know if you can see that membrane there. Once we get that membrane, we need to get underneath that membrane in. Yeah, she's peeling off pretty good. So we should be good. So I'll go ahead and get the rest of these all peeled up, and hopefully I end up with all 11 peeling really nice. But if not, then that's just the case that it goes. Alright guys, looks like most of the eggs came out well, except for this one. I got a little fast and hairy with that one, so guess where that one's going? Oh, good. I'll be back. Alright guys, I'm going to adjust this just a little bit. Alright, so we've got our potatoes and we've got our eggs. Alright, now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to go ahead and cut up the potatoes and eggs and get them put in here. I know they got fancy cutters for the eggs and stuff like that. I don't have one of those. But as far as the potatoes go, I'm just going to go ahead and quarter them. And this is the way I quarter. It might be different for you or what you've been told or anything like that, but I just go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and then I do 3 cuts along there, like this here. And that's what I'm usually looking for in the potatoes, each piece, because you will lose a little bit when mixing and stuff like that, so it'll make it smaller pieces, but we want to make not as big a piece as you can, but we want to make the pieces about bite size, and right in the bowl they go. Alright guys, I'll come back when I get them all cut up for you. Okay, alright. So we got our potatoes chopped. And now we're going to move on with our eggs. Just a second, clean up a little bit of the potato here. Alright, so now we're going to go down with our eggs. And I do a rough chop on these as well. I just go right through the middle. Alright, and you can see when we hard boiled our eggs, they turned out great. You know, they're done all the way through. you know, I really enjoy them that way. The one I already ate, it was pretty good. But once again, I like a rough chop on these just because if I bite into an egg, I want to know that there's an egg in there. You know, I don't like it super small or anything like that, so we'll just go ahead and put the eggs on top of the potatoes there. I like the eggs. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do 6 of these. See what the other one looks like. Open it up. And done perfect. Well, at least I think it's perfect. Alright, I'll get them cut up and come back to you. Alright, we got our 6 eggs in here, and we got 4 left over. I'm going to put those in baggies because those will be quick little snacks every now and then. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is get these in a baggie, and then I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and get our other ingredients in the bowl. Alright guys, then we're back. So we got our potatoes and 6 eggs in there. What we're going to do next is go ahead and slice up 1 onion, and I make them nice and big so that way people know. So I just do a half and a half, so once again a quarter it, and then what I'll do is I'll just slice it about 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick, and what I'll do is I'll make it nice and big for people to see. Try not to get my rubber glove in there. There we go, that should be good enough. Here, don't want to bite into a rubber glove. Alright, this one's going to be a little bit trickier. Or might just have bigger pieces of onion. Just the way that it goes. Alright. Yeah, good enough for the girls I go with. Alright, as my dad would say. So we'll put that on top. My wife hates it when I say that. But he had a lot of good sayings. Taught to him by an old Indian. Old Indian trick taught to him by an old Indian type thing. So, alright, so we'll get this put over here. Get that washed up in a bit. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and get out our measuring cups and spoons, so that way we can go ahead and start measuring out our other ingredients. Alright guys, and we're back. And what we're going to need is 1 cup, a 1 tablespoon, half a teaspoon, and a 1/4 cup. Alright, so we'll put these over here to the side. Now what I like to do first is I like to go ahead and get my dry ingredients on here, just because then I can reuse some of the tablespoons, teaspoons, things like that for the wet ingredients. If you do it the other way around, then you're kind of screwed, I guess. Alright, so we're going to start off with a half a teaspoon, not tablespoon, half a teaspoon of black pepper. And once again, the store that I went to was out of course black pepper, so this is what we're left with. Alright, so we'll put that in there. Now we're going to want to do garlic salt. Half a teaspoon of garlic salt. Let me wipe this out real quick, because I do have to dig in for this one. Alright, so half a teaspoon of garlic salt. Okay, got that there. Now we need, looks like 4 tablespoons of sweet relish. I don't like that much sweet relish in mine, so I always scale it back to 2 tablespoons. 1, 2. That's just a personal preference, and like I said, add, so delete to all these recipes. This is just what I go with. Alright, 3 tablespoons of mustard. Alright, so I'm going to do, and this is once again that spicy mustard. Alright, I grabbed the one that the whole size was too small. We're going to sit that there for a second and grab the other jug. Couldn't find my other one right off the bat, so like I said, we're going to push through with this one. No, we're not. Found the other one. Has a much bigger hole on top, so comes out much easier. Alright, 3 tablespoons of mustard. And this is my spicy mustard that I have a video on how to make. It turns out really good, so we're done with those. So now we're going up to Dorothy Lynch dressing. And this is one that my dad found to put in the recipe. Turned out really good. So we're doing 3/4 of a cup. And I'm using a 1/4 cup just because I can do it 3 times in order to make it 3/4 of a cup. Okay. Now I like the Dorothy Lynch in there, so I'm going to scrape all of this out of there. There we go. Into the sink you go. And last but not least, we've got Miracle Whip. Okay. Some people say, oh, it's not potato salad without mayonnaise in it. Well, I don't particularly like mayonnaise, so I go with Miracle Whip. So we're going to need something to get this out of here. All right. So we're going to want 2 cups of Miracle Whip. And you can just about decimate a bottle with 2 cups. All right, so there's 1. And 2. We'll call that good. All right. So now, put you in the sink. Put you in there. Lid on you. All right. So now what we're going to want to do, guys, that's all the ingredients. So what we're going to want to do is go ahead and get it all mixed up. Now, most people are going to use a spoon, but I don't like to use that just because you'll start breaking down those potatoes, and we want big chunks for those for when you're eating. So what we're going to do is we're going to hand mix this. Okay, and we're going to fold from the outside in. Alright, move it around. Right out the bowl. This is the biggest bowl I had. Dad, he had bigger bowls, so he does the recipes for his size bowls, I guess, as far as that goes. So we'll get underneath, and we're going to peel it up and over. And we'll get all this mixed together. And if you wanted to mix all of the ingredients together before you put it in here, you sure can. That's up to you, but this is always the way that he did it, and I used to watch him. So this is the way that I do it. And this is what I was saying about before, being real careful when you're folding, because what will happen is you'll start breaking down those potatoes, and you don't want that. You want those potatoes to stay somewhat firm. I mean, they're not firm by any means, but somewhat together, so you don't end up with a bowl of mashed potatoes. And you can see the way that it's kind of thickening up. That's because some of the outsides of the potatoes are coming off and they're mixing in with the other wet ingredients, and it's making it very thick, which is good. I prefer it that way. I like it that way. So we're pretty mixed up. So I'm going to go ahead and get this bowl scraped down so it looks nice, and we'll come back when we have that. Alright guys, this is our finished product. What I did is went ahead and peeled, just sliced up 2 more hard-boiled eggs, and I'm just going to put a little paprika on the top. I think it just makes it look nice, number 1, but number 2, it does give it some flavor, which makes it pretty good. I got kind of a big jug here, so it makes it kind of hard to sprinkle the paprika. So there we go. There's our finished product, potato salad. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, give it a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Alright, let's go see if we can find some taste testers. Alright, let's just start with here. And I use an ice cream scoop for my potato salad just because it makes it easy when you get it in there just to plop it off like that there. So we'll take a couple scoops and we'll go see if we can find ourselves a taste tester. All right, sweetie. It's done. You're gonna have to tell me how you like it.
Okay. Oh my god, that's really good.
Mm-hmm. She always thinks everything I make is really good. I don't think she tells me the truth, but
Whatever.
all right, guys, have a good night.